I don't know. Maybe Howie's losing his touch. The Eagles drafted 2 players today, and none of them were from Georgia.
There's still some out there.
And it was lining up where I was like, is he going to take another Georgia player? It would have made some sense.
Yeah.
They didn't, though. But they took 2 players, and we'll talk about them. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast. He's Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. A couple new Eagles, Tyler Steen, the offensive lineman, Sydney Brown, the safety. So we'll talk about each of those guys. We had a chance to meet Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith in person for their introductory press conference. That was fun. And then Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni wrapped up the day with their press conference. So a lot jammed into several hours on Friday. And this is the part of the draft that I really start to care about.
You care about the whole thing.
I care about the whole thing.
You care more about it than anything in your life.
But I like this part because this is like, and especially on Saturday, like people on Saturday, if you care about what happens on Saturday, you care about the draft.
Don't believe anything he's saying. He cares about this more than anything.
No, but I'm saying, but like I like the second and third.
No, but you're saying the way you said it was like you don't care about the first round.
No, that's not true.
But you said this is the part of the draft I care about. Maybe
more than others.
Okay. I don't believe it, but I think you like the first round.
I'm not saying I like these days more than the first day.
Okay.
I'm saying I like the second and third day more than most people like the second.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now that we've played our semantics game to start off the podcast, that's always what they tell you. When you start a podcast, really get into a semantics argument that no one's going to care about.
We apologize.
Yeah. I don't. Tyler Steen.
Yeah.
Interesting pick. There were some names on the board, bigger names on the board, names that we kind of thought were possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
They go offensive line.
Yeah, and this is kind of the pattern has been 3 years now in a row that they've taken an O lineman in the second and third round and replenished the, you look at the O line and it was the same kind of group for a long time. I mean, Dillard was the backup. Sayamala was a starter. They're both gone. Lane is still an incredible player, but closer to the end than the beginning. Kelsey, we think, is closer to the end than the beginning. Who knows with him? He's a living miracle. But I think with these 3 picks, Steen and Cam last year, and obviously Landon, who's now a Pro Bowler, they've really gotten some pretty good talent into the building on the O line, and you got to feel good about it. And you can just picture Stout each year when Howie tells them, yeah, we're taking the guard from Alabama, or we're taking whatever it is. This is what he lives for. And a young offensive lineman can't find himself in a better situation than here. Not only because of Stoutland, but you have Lane and Kelsey and Jordan Mailata to learn from and watch. And, Kelsey's the best in the business. And so I would think, I think he's a guard. I know short arms. I know that's one of your pet peeves for tackles. He was a pretty good tackle in the SEC, but on the next level, I would think he'll be a guard. But you could probably
weird short arms. He's 6'6".
Yeah,
has 32 and 3/4 inch arms.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah, so I would think that if Kelsey retires after the season, and who knows what he's going to do, but I would think Cam Jurgens moves to center, and here's your right guard.
Yeah, it seems that way. He's only played tackle. A little bit about him, because you might not know the offensive lineman they drafted in the third round, but he's 22, played 4 years at Vanderbilt, graduated from Vandy, right. Then he played at Alabama, transferred, played the entire season at Alabama at left tackle. But for those reasons you mentioned, he's kind of projected as a guard. He went to the Senior Bowl, got reps at guard, which is always a big deal. The Eagles seem to like Senior Bowl players, especially when they have to show something that they haven't done in the college level.
That's really true of both the guys they took today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think especially with Steen, though, because he's really playing a different position.
Sure.
So you want to see him take some reps there and look natural. And he said he felt pretty good. We had him on a conference call after he got picked. He said he felt pretty good at guard. And I'm guessing the Eagles were pretty honest with him. I mean, they listed him as a guard, which is pretty telling. They could have listed him as an offensive lineman.
Yeah. Yeah, that was interesting. I was a little surprising because competitive advantage and all that stuff. But he's a guard. He's a guard. It doesn't mean there might not, he might get some reps here and there at tackle. Maybe we'll see him in the preseason game, like in the fourth quarter of a preseason game at tackle for a couple series, but I think he's a guard. Interesting guy. Started out as a defensive lineman at Vanderbilt. Actually played 4 games as a freshman at defensive end, and then I think played right tackle for a year, and then left tackle for a year, and then grad transfer. Like
2 years of left tackle.
2 years of left tackle. Yeah, there's a lot of years there. He's
5.
He's a young guy, but played a lot of football, and interesting transfer to ended up playing his old team last year, but that 1 year in Alabama, I think it was Nick or Howie, one of them was talking about how much he grew. I mean, look, you go to Alabama, nothing against Vanderbilt, but you go to Alabama, it's going to be a whole different experience than Vandy. And I think it really benefited him. He's not a 3rd round pick if he stays at Vanderbilt.
Yeah, you're probably right. He has to prove it against better competition for a better team. And he said playing against his teammates, you practice against those guys every day. It's going to get you better. I said that was probably his biggest takeaway. It was like, you couldn't have a letdown at Alabama. You had to bring it every single day. And look, with a player with that much experience, I think it's a little bit easier than like going there as a freshman and trying to play at Alabama. So.
Yeah, no, I think it's a smart way to do it. You get a lot of experience. You get to start a lot of games in a pretty good conference, and and then and the transfer rules are so relaxed now. Like you used to have to sit out a year, and you'd have to just redshirt, and you could practice, but you couldn't play. But now you can do anything you want. You transfer 10 times, I think, play when you're 30. But it really benefited him, and I think he'll. I think it really paid off for him.
Yeah, I think so. I had a chance to ask Nick Sirianni if he's going to have a chance to compete for the right guard spot. Nick didn't want to say, but I think he kind of intimated that he's going to have a shot at it. Would you agree with that?
He kind of did, and he even admitted that he did because he said we're going to play the best guy, and then he goes, "Well, I guess that means there's if you're going to play, if you say we're going to play the best guy, that's competition."
Yeah. How would you handicap that competition between Steen and Cam Jurgens?
I would think Jurgens would have the edge. I mean, he's a center moving a guard where Steen's a tackle moving a guard. So neither one's like, pure guard. But I would think Jurgens, just the year in the NFL, the year just going through learning just the nutrition and the training regimen and getting his body, becoming an NFL body, I would think he'd have the edge. But I'd pay to see the competition.
Yeah, I mean, it could end up being one of the best ones in training camp. There aren't a ton of spots not spoken for right now. Maybe there'll be some at safety, the competition there. Maybe Zacchaeus has a chance to steal some reps from Quez if Quez is still here. So there are a few little competitions, but this could be the best one. Because you have a 2nd round pick and a really early 3rd round pick going at it.
Yeah. That's the best part of training camp is those positional battles. And when there's only a couple, there's such a focus on them, and it becomes a lot of fun. It's really a highlight of camp.
Yeah. I should mention the Eagles did not pick in the 2nd round. They traded down. They had obviously their own pick in the 2nd round. It was a really late one, 62 overall. They traded down 3 spots to 65, which was early in the 3rd round, and they picked up 2 extra picks, a 6th round pick, number 188 overall, and a 7th round pick, 230 overall. So they have 4 lottery tickets on day 3 instead of 2.
And 3 of those picks came from the Texans.
Yeah,
which is pretty funny. Howie was interesting. We'll get to the other play in a second, but Howie said. He was asked about that at the end of the day, and he said, I want we have 2 picks. We have all these scouts, all these area scouts, regional scouts, cross-checkers. I want them to come to work tomorrow and have some fun. And, I want more chances to hit on a guy. And, this is where math comes in. You have, the odds of finding a player with 4 picks and one's later are probably better than, 2 picks that are both late. So it's how he playing the numbers and making the numbers work for him. And he wants guys to come in and have fun, know that they have 4 picks. He talked about how much fun it is to call a player and tell him we just drafted you. So we get to do that 4 times instead of twice. it's funny how he looks at all this, and you double your picks, you double your chances of landing you're not going to find another Jason Kelsey in the 6th round, but they've found some good players in the late rounds.
Yeah, they certainly have. I mean, not just Kelsey, like Mailata, like
Big V was a 5.
Big V was a 5. They've had some 4s have success. I don't
Yeah.
know 4.
Gainwell was a 5.
Yeah.
Riley Cooper was a 5.
Yeah.
Like him or hate him, had a couple good years.
Yeah. No, you can find them.
Yeah.
And obviously, the more chances. That's pretty simple math there. The more chances you have, the better your odds are. The Texans ended up taking Juice Scruggs, a center from Penn State. Then Marvin Mims, the receiver from Oklahoma, went. Then the top of the 3rd round was Zach Pickens, the defensive tackle from South Carolina. So those are the players they theoretically could have had.
Right.
I'm guessing Steen was their target there.
Oh, yeah. It seemed like it.
Yeah. So it's a little bit of a gamble moving down, but it worked out for them. And then it's kind of fun. They had back-to-back picks. So they go Tyler Steen at 65 overall. And then Sydney Brown, the Illinois safety, at 66. He's a player that is fun. And I'm glad that Howie said it. Like he is fun to watch. He plays super. What are you doing?
I'm finding my steno pad where I wrote his name down yesterday as a guy they might draft today.
Okay.
Just so I can prove.
I believe you. I mean, we talked about him on the podcast. Isn't that enough?
Wrong steno pad.
Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about him. He is fun. What do you like about him?
Physical. He plays the sport violently, but not with reckless abandon. Sometimes you think a guy plays violently, you're like, oh, is he a walking penalty? And he's not. He's a smart player too, and I think a lot of that comes with experience. He's a 5-year starter, and I think there are advantages to that. Even the guy like Reed Blankenship last year, who was an undrafted player, he was a 5-year starter, and that experience showed up really early in training camp. Brown is a 5-year starter too. It was a captain in 2022, and it's not just like he's a play it safe. He's got a lot of experience. He's a crazy athlete too.
Yeah, and the thing you keep hearing is Eagles fans are going to love him just because he's so physical. There's a certain style of play that Eagles fans like, and it's not finesse football. They want,
it depends on the position, I guess.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, I mean Devontae is. I don't think of him as a finesse player. I think he was a tough player.
Yeah, I was thinking like Shady.
Shady wasn't a finesse player. I don't think.
Okay.
I don't see him that way.
Okay. He wasn't LeGarrette Blount out there.
Yeah, anyway.
Shady wasn't a finesse player.
I don't think I just don't think of him that way. I think of Todd Pinkston as a finesse player.
Okay.
I don't know. I'll have to think about this one. Anyway. He is a fun player, and where do you think he's going to fit in? It's an interesting.
He's got shot to play.
I would think so.
Maybe at the very least he does have special teams background, so he'll be on the team. He'll play special teams, but
better be on the team.
Well, yeah, but there's a path for him to play because they don't have anything there. Reed Blankenship was solid player last year, but he's still a projection as a starter.
Mm-hmm.
They brought in Terrell Edmonds, who is a flyer. I mean, has starting experience, but doesn't need to be on the field, doesn't need to be on the team.
Sure.
Same with Justin Evans, another flyer. Almost no guaranteed money, like $600,000, which is a lot of money, but not in football terms. No guarantees there.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see him get into training camp and earn some playing time.
Yeah. Early 3rd round pick too. There's such a big difference.
Yeah.
And he's going to get labeled as a 3rd round pick, but think about, he got drafted at 66 overall. Then you think about Davion Taylor was a 3rd round pick. He was 103 because they have the comp pick. So it's the difference between the start of the 3rd round and the end of the 3rd round is just massive.
Yeah, because of the comp picks.
Yeah.
You got a bunch of those, and that settlement was huge with Arizona yesterday.
Yeah, so that's a good point. The 66 pick was from Arizona. They would have drafted 94th. That's that's a big swing, and he might not have been there.
I wouldn't think he would have been. Yeah, you never know.
It's tough to say because there's some really good players that I thought would be
right
well off the board by now. But
we can say it. We tried to talk to him. It didn't go well. Had a really bad connection.
Yeah, he was happy.
He was really happy.
I love those. It was a shame that the video conference call didn't work out.
Yeah,
because he was so excited. He was like yelling and screaming, and
yeah,
I wanted to talk to that kid, but
I know. And he looked like he was in some kind of restaurant or bar or something, having a celebration. It was really loud. And it's funny because usually we do these calls and we start asking questions and they answer. He just started talking.
Yeah.
He just started like, oh, guys, I'm so excited. I can't wait to get started and come in. Really looking forward to it. So we'll talk to him tomorrow. But you got to love his enthusiasm. I think he's going to – we'll see. I mean, 3rd round pick, you don't know, but I think he's going to be a good one.
Yeah, some confidence with him too.
Yeah.
I mean, right away he said, what separates me from the other safeties in this class is the way I study and the way I prepare.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. That was we got one question. I got one question in, and then we busted. So I look forward to talking to him tomorrow. But I love his enthusiasm, his personality. He'll be a fun guy to watch at practice.
Yeah, he will be.
He'll be loud. He'll be enthusiastic.
Feisty.
He'll be feisty. Probably get into a fight. Maybe not. Nobody gets into fights here.
Well, it's hard to get in a fight at these practices.
That's true. When you're doing a walkthrough with no pads, you don't get.
You got to really be ornery. Interesting though. So honestly, to me, this is one of the more interesting things to come out of a draft press conference. Howie Roseman mentioning he's a Red Star player.
I like that. Yeah,
I really like that. So it was when. He was just going through and saying how much he thought Eagles fans would like him. He said he was a Red Star player, and he didn't really offer an explanation. And there were some follow-ups about what the heck are you talking about? What's a Red Star player? And he basically explained it like a player who exemplifies what it means to be an Eagle. And there are different criteria in that, but you can probably figure it out, like competitive, smart, athletic. And he said there are about 10 guys each year that get a real Red Star next to their name on the draft board. And sometimes when it comes down to, picking one guy or the other, they'll go with the Red Star. And
the interesting thing, it's not the 10 best players or 10 favorite players in the draft. He said some of them you could be a 7th round pick and be a Red Star, or an undrafted guy and be a Red Star. It just means that the scout who is associated with him, who discovered him or really watched them, just feels really strongly about him in that spot and thinks he'll make a good Eagle. I really like that. That was good stuff.
And he mentioned
it was a good peek in, behind into the draft room.
See how it's made a little bit. Now, of course, the 2 guys he mentioned who are Red Stars are excellent players. It was Devontae and Landon Dickerson. Yeah. I'm sure there have been Red Star players they've drafted who have not worked.
That's what I wanted to ask.
I know. I don't know if they'd give that up.
Yeah, we'll find out.
It might foil their Red Star system a little bit. I do have one question. I think, why Red Star? Why not a Green Star?
Maybe they use that for something else. Nick probably has some Green Star for something, whoever makes the most free throws in a row or something. I thought it was one of the interesting things about Howie since he came back as GM in 2016 is how much he involves everyone in the office, which I don't think he did in his first tenure. And the Red Star system, I'd be willing to bet that didn't exist from 2010 to 2014.
It's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It might. This is me theorizing here. It might be a Joe Douglas influence.
Could be.
Because Joe, one of the things I really appreciate about Joe was that he comes from the scouting background, and he was always very quick because they gave Joe a lot of microphone time, a lot of in front of camera time. And he was very good when he was there, and he still does it with the Jets. Very good about crediting the scouts who put in, because, man, being a scout is a really thankless job a lot of the time. And I thought it was good. Zach Berman asked Howie about the scouts who kind of stay in Athens. And because they've obviously drafted a lot of players from there. But
it was interesting. You mentioned Phil Baia, who's director of management. I think is director of draft management.
Yeah.
And one of the scouts, Alan Wolking, who's
been promoted a few times.
Director of player personnel now, I think. It's interesting. I mean, look, I was looking at this earlier. See if I have this browser still up. They've drafted 8 players from Alabama and Georgia since 2021. If you include Jalen as an Alabama player.
You better, if not, the Alabama people get real mad.
Yeah, they do. And he talks about Bama more than he talks about Homa. But, you look at, obviously, Nakobe Jordan, the 2 guys yesterday, and then Devontae, Landon, and Jalen, and this kid. So that's 8 players from those 2 programs in 3 drafts. It's incredible. And I think it's an obvious thing, but taking players from the best programs in the country does make some sense.
It makes sense, but there's also like a little bit of risk involved because you have all these great players. Sometimes it's tough to single out.
Sure.
Especially like at Georgia. And we can talk about these guys in a little bit because I thought that was one of my takeaways from the presser. But it's like sometimes it's the production isn't there.
Yeah.
Because like the team is so good, or that in that case the defense is so good that the numbers aren't there. So you have to kind of weed through it a little bit.
Right. That's true. And that's where the combine and pro day are huge. But, we've seen guys who don't fill up the stat sheet at top programs and come to the NFL, and they're really good players.
Yeah. Catch all the sports action and more at Rivers Casino Philadelphia. Whether it's the money line or the pass line, there's something for everyone in a great sports book. Rivers Casino Philadelphia. Philly loves a winner. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, Rube. We got a chance to meet Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith today. They did a press conference, not an overly long press conference, more of a photo opportunity.
Sure.
But it was good to see those guys, and it was very different personalities.
Yeah, and it was the first time we've gotten to speak to Nolan. We didn't talk to him.
No.
Thursday. Very, very talkative, very, very just says a lot, and really, really sharp guy. He reminds you a little Nakobe personality wise. You can see why they're so close. There's just a kind of like a business like approach there, just really serious minded. And I think Jordan and Jalen are kind of similar too. Maybe, and they're like best friends. So it's interesting. I'm excited to see Nolan Smith. I mean, I'm excited to see all of them, but can't wait to see him out there practicing as well. You just think how deep this D line is. I mean, it's crazy. People are tweeting at me asking about Derek Barnett, and I'm like, maybe, but like, where are you gonna put him? And then like, are they gonna bring Linval back? I'm like,
yeah, I mean, Derek Barnett might be the 5th edge rusher right now.
I would think he would be. Yeah, there's usually not 5 edge rushers. I mean,
well, I think there are, but like, I don't know if it's gonna be him.
Yeah. Well, that's true too. But they're just loaded, and what a valuable experience to come as a rookie or even a second-year guy and have Fletcher and BG and just, I mean, these guys are living, walking legends, and so you're even if you don't play the same position, just to have them as a resource in your locker room is amazing. And the same goes for Kelsey and Lane with a guy like Steen. So it's a good situation.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to see because it was a joint press conference. It was both of those guys on the stage together, which can sometimes be tricky because
they handled it well.
I thought they handled it well, and because I think Nolan Smith just has a more outgoing personality, but he didn't steal the show, and it was really cool to see those two interact. You can tell they really are close. I don't think it's lip service about that. They really are close, and I got the sense that Jalen's not super comfortable doing media just yet, but you could tell that there was like an added level of comfort being next to his teammates.
Yeah, I think that's true, and you can tell that Nolan is comfortable with the media.
Yeah.
It was funny because people would ask a question. Like I asked a question, I said, for either one of you guys, and they kind of looked at each other, and he just, and Jalen just looked at Nolan. He's like, "You take this one," and that communication is just it's just fun to watch. I mean, these guys have been through a lot together, and man, it's got to be exciting for them being here together.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way they ever really thought this was going to happen.
No way.
Yeah, and even just like those two on their own would be pretty crazy in one round. You had in Jordan and the Kobe. I mean, that's wild.
Yeah, it really is.
And Howie talked about it. You know, it's fun. Like Howie told us the same story today that he told last year about him going down to Georgia, and coming back and talking to Nick, and Nick saying, "Who'd you like down there?" And how he going the defense, all of them. Yeah. And he's slowly trying to get all of them.
He is, and there's a couple he might want to add next year. But I'd have to. I was trying to figure out a way to look up if any team has ever taken this many players from the same school this high in this short a period. It would probably take hours. I'll probably do it at some point during the week, just because I'm a glutton for punishment.
Yeah, no,
because I want to know the answer.
It would be fascinating. It's I don't know.
I'll bet it's never happened. 4 of them in the first 3 rounds in 2 years. I mean, I'll just set up.
Heck, 3 in the first round.
Yeah.
Is almost like, when you put it that way, it's almost crazier.
That might be.
Like, because third round picks, even though Nakobe was a really ballyhooed prospect, a third round is much different than a first round pick. Like, using 3 first round picks on players from the same school
in 2 years.
2 years.
I mean, most teams haven't drafted 3 players from the same school in the first round. Maybe 1 or 2 schools, maybe, Notre Dame, Michigan, going back to the 30s or whatever. But
Eagles haven't drafted a Michigan player since PG.
That's true.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Pretty big program.
I can't get over that they've only drafted 1 defensive player from Penn State, and he played 1 snap. And it wasn't on defense. Yeah. Sharif, 2 snaps.
I haven't drafted many Penn State players in general.
No. Well, for a long time, they wouldn't, because their former coach wouldn't let NFL scouts on campus to practice, and they just wouldn't draft them. You end up with Kenny Jackson, Tony Hunt. Anyway, we'll talk about Tony Hunt. What else we got?
I don't know. Were there any other takeaways from Jalen and Nolan? Nolan got a chance to vouch for Jalen's character, which we've talked so much about Jalen going through the process these last couple months and how crazy it's probably been for him. But like, then you think about what's it been like for his friends and his teammates and the people who know him so well and who have been with him for years. Like, and I'm guessing it's probably been kind of like a helpless feeling for a guy like Nolan Smith. And he talked about, like the guy that people think Jalen is, he's not. And I thought it was a good way for Nolan to address it. He was asked about it, but I thought he handled it well.
Yeah, I did too. And you could see Jalen just really how much he appreciated it, that he had his back.
Yeah, I'm working on a story about Jalen, and it's not really about him as a person necessarily. It's kind of about his high school days. So I was talking to one of his coaches, and but like his character came up, and he was telling me like it kind of came up organically. Like, yeah, Jalen's back here at the high school campus all the time. He did a camp here last year. He's doing a camp here next year. So, I think we're going to hear more about Jalen the person. I'm curious to learn more about him and to see what the people in the building get from him once he's in there.
Yeah. And how he seems really confident in what they've built here as far as support system for, not just for him, but for everybody. I mean, the transition from college to the NFL is so hard for almost everybody. You're away from your comfort zone. You don't know anybody. Well, in this case, they do. But just you have money in your pocket for the first time. For some of them have a lot of money. But it is, now you have, you have a whole new structure to your life, and they seem to take care of those guys.
A lot of good players still available.
Yeah. What are you looking? Where are you looking?
I mean, so the Eagles are on the clock at 65 at 66. And some of these guys have come off the board since then. I'm looking at the picks in the third round after them, like Jalen Hyatt, Cedric Tillman, who you mentioned. So back-to-back Tennessee receivers. That's fun. Josh Downs, a receiver from North Carolina. Tyjae Spears, the running back from Tulane, who went honestly higher than I thought. He has some medical that a little tricky. Trenton Simpson, linebacker from Clemson. I thought would have been a plug-and-play guy
Wow.
for the Eagles. So there were some players. Wanya Morris from Oklahoma, the tackle. Darnell Washington finally came off the board. He was one of the Georgia players. Like, maybe they'll take him. Broderick Martin. Oh, wow. He went earlier than I thought.
What about that defensive end from Northwestern?
Out of Tamiwa.
I just want to hear you say his name.
Out of Tamiwa Atabara. He's still there.
I like hearing that.
Apparently, there's some medical with him.
There must be something.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy that he's still there. Keely Ringo from Georgia is still available. I mean, he's a guy who had some people thought he was going in the first round. I mean, he's taking a bigger tumble than Nakobe.
Yeah, it would have been hard for Howie to take 3 Georgia guys in the first round.
I mean, it was lining up. I was like, is he screwing with everyone? Is he putting these back to back so he can take Darnell Washington and Keely Ringo?
Nobody would have been surprised.
Yeah. There are some players here that I thought would be gone, and they're still there. And Keely Ringo's at the top of the list. DeJuan Jones from Ohio State.
Yeah, he was one guy that I think we mentioned yesterday. Huge dude, 6'8", 375.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he's out there. But every year everybody looks at the draft differently. So
yeah, it happens every year. There end up being guys who last longer. Nick Herbig.
Yeah, he's still out there.
Corey Trice from Purdue.
Nick Herbig's a linebacker from Wisconsin, whose brother is Nate Herbig.
He hasn't disowned him yet.
Who's with the Steelers, I believe.
Yeah, no, the Steelers, him and Isaac. The Andy Weidel connection.
Yeah.
Chase Brown, still out there. We didn't mention that. That's Sydney's twin brother.
Yeah.
Well, do you know that Sydney's Canadian? Ontario?
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm. Moved to Florida for the end of high school, but Canadian.
Interesting. What's your favorite Canadian band?
Bare Naked Ladies.
Oh, no. Please.
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for judging my musical taste.
Anytime.
Yeah. That was my first concert.
Really?
Yeah. At Spectrum.
Listen to Blue Rodeo. Great Canadian band.
No, because you made fun of my
out
of spite. I will not. Positions. The Eagles have 4 picks.
Yeah.
On day 3. So far they've drafted a defensive tackle, an edge rusher, an offensive lineman, guard, and a safety. Give me a position or 2.
Defensive line and offensive line. Wouldn't surprise anyone.
Yeah, I mean, they still have so they've drafted a defensive tackle, but Jalen Carter is more of like a 3-tech 4-eye. They don't. We mentioned this the other day. They don't really have a backup nose unless it's Marlon Tuipulotu.
Right, which it won't be.
I don't know. I mean,
I'm just
might be by default.
Yeah, I think they need to do better, but we'll see. A tight end maybe.
Tight end's possible. Maybe a skill guy, a running back makes some sense.
Yeah.
A-Chain went, right?
I think he did.
Yeah. A-Chain went.
I'm pretty sure he did. But I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah.
He must have, because he's not on my list of guys who haven't. Track star, by the way.
Yeah, A-Chain's gone. He went
Devin, take the A-Chain.
The Dolphins. Holy cow. They're a fast team, Dolphins.
I don't know if they're a good team, but they're a fast team.
Pretty good last year.
They're okay.
And their quarterback is on the field. It's tricky. Cornerback.
Yeah.
Always like a late round corner. Always makes some sense. Tackle, like an offensive tackle.
Yeah.
If they really drafted a guard only, then a tackle would make some sense. Any chance at a developmental quarterback now that they have 4 picks?
I doubt it.
Okay.
I doubt it. Because, I don't think so. But I think you have a better chance of finding a guy that can help you that's not a quarterback in those rounds. What about a running back?
Yeah, possible.
Yeah.
Let's see who's out there.
The other Texas kid, is he still out there?
Oh, Bijan? No, he went.
No, the other Roshan Johnson.
I would love if you were just talking about Bijan.
Oh, Bijan got drafted.
Yeah. Oh, Bijan went? I didn't know that. Okay.
He's still out there.
Yeah.
Roshan Johnson. Rashawn.
Wouldn't it be something if they
Rashawn.
drafted Chase Brown? The way they do things.
Yeah.
When you're drafting all these Georgia kids, they're talking about like, yeah, I got my brother here. Not like this.
Literally.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't know if the value will line up necessarily. But 4 picks is fun. And then it becomes the mad rush to get undrafted guys, and they've done fairly well.
Yeah.
With undrafted players. And last year, Reed Blankenship, 3 made it last year, right? It was Reed Blankenship,
Britton Covey,
and Josh Sills.
Yeah.
So 3 players on a roster that went to the Super Bowl.
and 2 of them really contributed.
Yeah.
Sills and
Covey and Reed.
Blankenship.
Yeah.
Uh,
I was blanking on Blankenship.
yeah. They're pretty good at that. What did Howie say? They give bonuses to?
Yeah, they give bonuses to like the guys who bring in the undrafted player who makes the team.
That's Howie involving all the other scouts.
Makes sense.
It's a trend.
And they really
does that count against the cap?
No.
I'll have to look into that.
No, I don't think that's part of player salaries.
I know.
Yeah. It's interesting though, because they really do take that seriously. And we've talked about like ownership before when we were talking about the Jalen Hurts contract, like being willing to front a lot of the money. This is to a lesser extent, obviously, but they'll pay these guys. Like they'll pay to make sure they get. And sometimes the guy doesn't make the team.
Carson Strong.
Yeah, I mean, they paid him a ton last year to get him in.
And the number 2 guy, there was another guy they paid a lot to who didn't even make the practice squad, right? I can't remember who it was.
I don't remember. I know Mario Goodrich got a lot. But some of the guys who made it last, like Reed Blankenship, didn't get that much. Oh, Josh Jobe last year.
Oh, yeah.
There were 4 guys. Because Covey didn't make the first roster, did he? I don't know if he made the initial roster.
I think he did. Let me see who it was. And I'm just stalling now to find out who I'm thinking of. This is your story from 2019.
I don't know if that's going to be good.
TJ Edwards, 87,000. Nate Herbig, 87,000. DeAndre Tompkins, 85,000. I should put the year in my Google search. Anyway, whatever. Here's the other. No, this is ridiculous. Google's just so weird. Anyway, what else?
Britton Covey was not on the initial 53.
Oh, really?
Because Jalen Reagor was.
Wow. He was. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Forgot about him.
Yeah.
That's right. He was here all summer.
Yeah.
What a thing.
Yeah, it feels like he's been gone for years.
Years, right?
Yeah. Wonder if he had a red star next to his name.
I wonder.
I doubt it.
What
Anything
else we got?
else? That's all I got.
Yeah. Tomorrow's a fun day. It's more fun having 4 guys than 2.
Yeah, for us too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes the day go faster.
How many players they draft tomorrow?
2.
You think?
I don't know. I think they'll take 4. But it might not be where they're currently sitting.
Yeah, that's probably a safe bet.
Yeah. I wonder what percentage of picks in the first 3 rounds Howie has made with a pick that started out as an Eagles pick. Yeah, like 30%.
Yeah, not many.
That wouldn't take long to figure out, right? Be pretty easy.
No.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
Not tonight though.
Yeah. I mean, none of their picks so far.
Right.
Well, 30.
Well, no, 66 was theirs.
No, 66 was from
oh yeah, you're right.
From the Cardinals.
Right.
So 30. So 25% of their
30 was
their
theirs.
picks.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'll bet it's about 30%.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. If you enjoy the Eagle Eye Podcast, please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button, subscribe there as well. That's it for day 2. We'll be back with you tomorrow after day 3 wraps up. For Rube, I'm Dave. This has been Eagle Eye. We'll talk to you soon.